welcome back to Fiat Lux. My name is Anna, and I am a hypocrite. Okay, so maybe that's slightly dramatic, but I just want to let you guys know before I get into this video today that I am struggling with school stress right now. So everything that I'm going to be telling you guys, I am going to be actually telling myself. So I hope some of these things that I need to hear myself are also helpful to you. Alright, so we're just gonna get right into it. I have 5 steps, and not necessarily chronological, but a few steps that hopefully will help you move towards the direction of being less stressed and more joyful. Here we go. Step 1. Write out a schedule. So this is the first thing that I had to do when I realized I was super stressed, and basically sometimes I have a tendency to just take things day by day and then things sneak up on me really fast and I'm like, oh no, I have like 6 calculus assignments due tomorrow, which is actually true, and I didn't pace myself very well. So big thing, just writing out your schedule can help you realize what you need to accomplish and when you need to accomplish it. Alright, so step number 2, this is super important. Offer God your stress. That calculus test that you have tomorrow that's stressing you out, offer that to God. All those homework assignments you have due tomorrow that you didn't do for weeks, offer those up to God too. Everything that you can think of that's stressing you out, write it out on the list and one by one say the words, God, I offer you, and fill in the blank. So if you do this, it can really help you to remember that everything you're doing is for God. For example, if your friend asked you to make a birthday cake for them and they wanted an Oreo ice cream cake and they wanted it really simple because they didn't really like a lot of the fancy stuff, and you're like, I'm gonna make the best birthday cake ever, and so you make the ice cream cake and then you start putting sprinkles on top and fruit and nuts and all kinds of various toppings on this ice cream cake. And while you might think it's pretty great, you're not making it the way that your friend wanted. And so it's like, are you really making it for them or are you making it for yourself? Same kind of thing. When it comes to school, probably school is something that God wants you to do and something that is part of His plan for you. And we need to remember that we're doing it for God and not for ourselves. And so we might think that we have to do things a certain way, but in reality, God's just asking for us to do it a different way. For example, maybe I think that I have to get straight A's and perfect scores on everything that I do. That's an exaggeration, but not completely. And God is like, no, I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just asking you to try your best. Often we put expectations upon ourselves that God is actually not putting upon us, and we hold ourselves to a standard that God isn't asking of you. So remember, if you're doing all this for God, then do it the way that God would want you to and not the way that you want to, because then that defeats the whole purpose. Step number 3, be willing to change your commitments. This one's pretty hard for me because I love to get overcommitted to things and say yes to everything, but we can't do that. And I would encourage you to take a good hard look at each of the commitments in your life and ask if God is asking you to be committed to that. Because sometimes you think that you have to do something, and it turns out that God actually wants you to let that thing go. For example, my best friend Elizabeth, she decided that God wasn't asking her to do swim in college, and that was something that she had planned on doing for her entire life, pretty much. But when she did that, she was so relieved, and she felt this weight being lifted off of her because she was putting this extra commitment on herself that God wasn't asking of her, that would have made her life so much more stressful. Each of the commitments we make require our time, and it would be a shame to not be able to give any of our commitments the attention that they deserve because we're trying to give them our time and attention to too many commitments. So make sure that you're willing to change and give up some of the things that you're committed to if God asks you to. Step 4, make time for one-on-ones or for time alone. So this is kind of an introvert versus extrovert little tip here. I myself am more of an extroverted person, so for me, something that I find re-energizing is talking to someone one-on-one. And so for all you people who get your energy from that one-on-one relationship or those close, intimate connections, I encourage you, make that a priority, because you need to talk to people about not just school and stress, but you need to talk to somebody about how you're doing mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Make sure that you're making that a priority. Also, if you're introverted and you just need to have that quiet time to be alone, to think about how you're doing mentally, spiritually, emotionally, then make sure you set aside the time for yourself to do that. If you're worn out and exhausted, you're not going to be able to give your best self, not only to your schoolwork, but also to the people around you. And ultimately, God wants us to love people well. Our vocation in this world, our main goal is to love people well. So make sure that you devote the time you need to being energized and full of life. And with that being said, the final tip, and most important, of course, is to pray 24/7. Which, okay, that might sound like a slight exaggeration, but what I mean is, for one thing, offer up all that you do for God, all of your schoolworks. I like to write like a little JMJ on top of my paper sometimes. Helps me remember that my schoolwork is for God. But what I'm really talking about is try to set aside a couple minutes every hour or so, just to remember that God is there. That's it. If you want to set a timer, you can, but literally just 1 minute or 2 minutes to just sit there in silence and just acknowledge the fact that God is with you and that He loves you. And if you just take a deep breath and let that sink in, it'll help you not to get too caught up in all the problems of the present moment. When we take a breath and remember that we're loved and remember who we're doing everything that we're doing for, it helps us to maintain peace and calm and be able to offer up the stressful things, and also to learn to be full of life even when you're in the midst of that. Jesus says, "I came that you might have life and have it abundantly." Jesus doesn't want you to just survive school or get through your school. He wants you to be full of life in the midst of it. And I know it's so hard. I know it's really hard for me right now, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I'm struggling. But these things help me tremendously, and I really hope that they can help you too. We can continue to journey together to learn how to be full of life in the midst of school. I'll keep you posted on things that I learned that helped me. And please know that I'm praying for you guys. Please, as always, like this video if you enjoyed it or it was helpful. Comment down below either some ideas of what you do to manage school stress or what is the next assignment you have due. Please subscribe for more similar content. And as usual, let's go light up the world.